Hi everybody, today I'd like to show you my restoration process for an Auricon RA-30 amplifier. These were used with Cinevoice cameras most commonly to record sound on film. This particular one is one of the older versions in that it's got the 2-pin and 4-pin Jones connectors used for connections. This is the microphone input from the Auricon microphone. It can actually be used with any modern microphone as well. And this is a phono input used from a high-level source, such as from a CD player. And then this is the 4-pin connector used for connection to the camera. This particular unit was sent to me for restoration, so I'd like to tell you a little bit about my process for that. So first off, let's have a look at the inside. The back cover conveniently has a copy of the schematic pasted inside as well for reference. This uses vacuum tube technology, so it requires several batteries to operate. And here are the 5 vacuum tubes that are in the unit. These 4 here are a Type 1S5, which is a battery pentode used in portable radios. And this tube here is the 3V4 type, which is a power amplifier. In this application, these 4 tubes are wired as triodes to try and keep the noise level down. But it's still a pretty noisy amplifier, and it might be best to use an outboard mixer to the phono input if you need it. So this is, like I say, one of the older versions, in that it's got the cloth-covered battery cable here. So this is how we tell, and it's going to need a little more work than the newer ones having plastic cable. So what my normal process is I replace electrolytic capacitors. Here is the original one compared with the new one. The original one in this case is a 47 microfarad at 25 volt, and that actually goes right here. And the 2 that are in this position are 5 microfarad at 150 volt. The new standard value would be 4.7 microfarad at 160 volts. And then the last electrolytic here is one of the bypass capacitors, and it's rated originally at, let's see, 20 microfarad at 150 volts, and as you can see again, the size is much smaller, the new one. And the standard rating on the new one is 22 microfarad. Some other components we had to replace is these are paper capacitors. They actually look like micas, but they're actually paper inside. And so I've replaced them with modern polystyrene capacitors. There was 3 locations here for these. The remaining capacitors here, these are actually mica and are pretty stable, so usually no need to replace them. And then these devices here are couplets, and they have molded capacitors and resistors inside. Again, usually no need to replace them. Some other components that might need replacing are resistors. In this case, I had to replace one here that was affecting the reading on the A meter reading, the A battery meter reading. And then I also replaced some here that can make the amplifier a little quieter. The resistors that need to be changed are those that are off value, and the others you see here are pretty much in value. It doesn't need to be dead on in a tube amplifier. There isn't a lot of variation needed. Or I should say they can tolerate a lot of variation and still work just fine. This particular amplifier, again being the older version, some of the cabling need to be replaced. The older plastic insulation is actually attacking and corroding the copper wire inside, so we had to replace that. And in this particular amplifier, what killed it was there was a corroded connection here from the tube socket to one of the terminal strips, so the wire was completely open, preventing audio from getting through. Now what I'm showing you here isn't necessarily going to result in a working amplifier in all cases. This particular one had a little bonus feature in that the tone pot was actually shorting out when turned to one end, again killing the audio. So in the old products like this, you never know what you're going to find. Being 60 years old or more could be anything. Also, we changed out the battery plugs. These are new spade lugs, which can fit, modern batteries. Here are the original plugs that were in place before. So one of the gotchas to watch out for when operating this is that the microphone input has a volume control for it and a tone control, but the phono input has neither. When you use the phono input, neither the tone control nor the input level control here operate. The meters, of course, still work. You also want to be sure when operating it that it's in the soundtrack exposure position. Otherwise, you'll get no sound. Another thing that will prevent the amplifier from working is if the camera cable plugged in here is either not plugged in or it has a dirty or loose connection here. This needs to be plugged in in order for the tubes to receive the filament power. Well, that's about it. Any questions? Let me know. Thanks.